Our next conversation discusses and delves into our expectations for seamless customer experiences. From onboarding to troubleshooting to immersive media, every touch point requires transparency, trust, and coordination across the entire ecosystem. This session, Beyond the Last Mile, Building the Customer Experience Across Ecosystems, brings together leaders from broadband and the app device world to explore what's next. Please welcome Sundeep Singatwaria, Distinguished Wi-Fi Systems Engineer for Meta, Shafi Khan, Principal Engineer for CableLabs, and our moderator, Paul Fonte, Senior Director of CableLabs. Thanks.
Welcome, everyone. I appreciate you coming out. Excited to have this panel. Something that kind of gets overlooked is we use our applications, our devices every day is really the coordination and the partnership that we need to have across the ecosystem. And so really excited to have Sundeep from Meta joining us. We've had the privilege of working with Sundeep and have gained a ton of valuable insight on the billions of users that Meta sees every day that connect through our networks. And so he's given us a lot of great insight, and we'll dig into some of that. Also, Shafi Khan, who's been a principal engineer at CableLabs. Shafi's led some work called Quality by Design and Session Automation, really looking at how we start to create two-way communication between the application layer and the network layer so we can get to better not only issue and resolution, but true automation as we look at AI. So as we're starting to look at the advancements within this digital experience, the introduction of AI, it's really important to kind of baseline understand, based on your guys' experience, how does this happen today? How do we make this seamless today, just so people have an understanding of some of the complexities that go into it? And we certainly don't need to get into all the details, but I'll start out with you, Sundeep.
So thank you, Paul. So one of the interesting thing which has happened over a period of years is, like, if you look at every home, you have a large number of connected devices in every home, and you have multiple different size of screens that people consume their content on. And so if you look at every home, the number of application, what we call application density, and the number of devices that are there in every home is increasing year over year. So one of our main goal is how do we provide the consistent experience across devices and location, whether you are sitting in your home network or in your stadium Wi-Fi, how do we provide consistent experience across different venues, but also across different screens?
Yeah, and thank you, Sundeep. That's a great point. I am here to represent the broadband backbone that powers these ecosystems as well, right? So my goal with seamless connectivity is really having applications, network that just simply works, right? And that is really what I would like to, talk about today, especially with the demos that we have going on. I would like to invite you to take a look and definitely talk about more about the seamless connectivity.
So talk a little bit about some of your experience when you've built these partnerships with like network operators. And Shafi, you can touch on this as well because you were part of that work. Talk about what that did and how that enhanced some of the quality and things that you saw once you were able to build these stronger partnerships.
Yeah. So like we have been engaged with all the top leading US operators for a few years now, I would say. And the good thing, what happens from our app point of view is our app, you can think of it as providing a heat map of how the customer experiences and whether they are sitting within a home or they are at venue, like how application experiences over different networks at different times of the day and things like that. So the data what we have on our side from application understanding point of view, we are able to share that with operator partner and help them understand that what part of the regional network might not be performing to the same SLAs that some other part of the network might be doing. Let's say California might be doing much better than a network in Atlanta. And we have a heat map of, since our apps can serve as a heat map of how the customer experiences, it provides a very good purview for operators to understand, hey, these are the location where I need to improve my network, or these are the areas where essentially I might have a very old version of VCMTS, CMTS, or some old technology, or some areas where you might even have a large concentration of very legacy CPs deployed. And we work with them to identify what those areas are. So you can think of us as being able to provide the telemetry data, non-PII telemetry data, mainly focus on like network and transport metrics that help operators improve their network.
Yeah, and from CableLabs' perspective, we really want to foster these partnerships. So we've worked with Meta, Zoom, and Apple to really come up with these solutions that enables this two-way communication between the application and the network. So today, that really doesn't exist, right? Meta does phenomenal job in understanding the network, and through the billions of applications and services that they're running, they have a very good idea of the network, but at the same time, it does not really capture what's happening in the in-home network that the network provider has access to the data there. So providing that bridge between applications and network operators, I think that is really the key that we're missing.
And you bring that up of providing insights to the network operators and letting them know how their network is. But I think the biggest thing too is we need to get to resolution, right? When you tell somebody, hey, your network connection isn't great, it's like, well, I get that, it's not working. So touch a little bit on some of the work you guys previously did around exploring WMM, how we saw that impact the user experience, because that's the biggest key is when you identify there is a problem, how do we get to a resolution? And that's not the only one, but just kind of some of the impact that had on the application performance.
Sure. So we got engaged with CableLabs almost 3 years back into trying to understand what can we do within residential networks to improve quality of experience. And one of the first thing we found was pretty much all CPs that are deployed within the United States, like they have this feature which is there in Wi-Fi since 2008, but it's practically never enabled. So it's like paying for something but never using it. So what we did is, hey, let's try to first understand what is the value it's going to bring for residential networks. So if you think of residential networks, they are becoming more like small branch office without a network engineer who can basically monitor which applications are having good experience and the others that are not. So we provided that data working back with CableLabs, and we influenced the industry. We also had a white paper working with CableLabs that showcased that, hey, operators, we have this Wi-Fi QoS or WMM feature that is part of all the CPs that are pretty much there everywhere in the world. Enabling these brings significant value for your end customer, so please go ahead and enable it. And there are a bunch of operators in US, like very big operators in US that have enabled that experience since then.
Yes, and our projects like Quality by Design was a direct result of that collaboration that we did with Meta. We ran several tests in the lab with congestion enabled and saw the drastic improvement that WMM can provide. So that's really what we want to do, but in a more automated fashion, right? We want to look at the real-time metrics as the call is taking place, and depending on the performance of these applications, we can actually provide the root cause analysis back to the application builders. So the application builders can choose how they would want to present this to the end user, but this also allows us to open up opportunities to enable the resolutions, right? So as Sundeep mentioned, WMM is really key in the Wi-Fi in-home network, but there's also low latency DOCSIS and L4S that some of the applications take advantage of. For example, FaceTime from Apple that allows a more smoother user experience as well.
Yeah, because you touch on the quality by design work and some of that work in there, and dig into it a little bit more in depth and a little bit more in detail. Because right now, when something goes wrong with a application experience, the user says it's my internet connection. They just do, and they're typically talking about Wi-Fi, and it's not always the case. Sometimes there's things, but having that two-way communication. Talk about some of the improvements you've seen. Talk about really what we've been trying to shoot for, this reliability score that's more encompassing than just a speed test, right?
Yeah, and that's an excellent topic, and that's something that I'm passionate about. So let me ask you, how many here has had issues with a video conferencing call while you're working from home? All right, so lots of hands raised here. So I have a personal story to share, right? I talked to my mom who's in Bangladesh using Messenger and WhatsApp every day, right? And I love these apps because they help me stay connected to my mom. But my mom doesn't know technology or what is really happening. And over in Bangladesh, we have brick and mortar walls. So if she's moving from the living room to the kitchen, I have to find out what happened the next day because she has no idea, right? So that is really one of the stories that I always think about why I'm in this space. And quality by design is one of the solutions, right, that could provide a user who's not very technically savvy, but at least give some idea of what's happening. If she's really walking far away from the access point, maybe there could be a nudge on her phone saying, hey, that we're having some signal-related issues. Maybe you want to go back closer to the router. Now she knows to do that, but it took a while to get her used to that. So quality by design really allows the end user to have a solution that just works. So that is really the key for that.
And then Sundeep, just kind of a little bit of your thoughts on more of a robust reliability type score to where we can better inform the user about what's actually happening. Because like I said, the speed test is great, but it just gives you your speed, and that's not always the case.
Yeah, that is a great question, because if you look at it, like pretty much in most of the network, when you run speed tests, when you're sitting in your home, you will say, hey, I'm getting 50 megabit per second or 100 megabit per second, right? But you cannot do a Zoom call or WhatsApp call, which is like less than 2 megabit per second. So why is that a problem, right? It's because I think as an industry, for the longest time, we focus very much on solving the bandwidth problem. And bandwidth is an easier problem to solve because you basically go and deploy a newer modem at customer home. So it's like one and done kind of thing. A technician comes to your home, you have a bigger fiber pipe, and you're done. But if you look at from latency point of view, which is becoming more and more critical as number of applications in every home is increasing, you need some way to monitor the network within the home. Not every home will ever have a IT staff to understand what exactly is going on. So QBD is a great initiative that allows you to abstract out all the information. Either it's coming from OTT providers like Meta or Zoom or Apple or any of these companies, and correlate that data with like CP information, CP telemetry to help the user with more informed decision. Hey, you are moving far away from Wi-Fi, please come back closer. The apps can do it, or the network through a mobile app can help the CP or the operator provider to basically provide more information. So right now, I would say that we are still in the early innings of it, but our goal is to be able to provide consistent experience, irrespective of whether you're buying a $1,000 Wi-Fi device at home or you are paying like $50 for that. So quality by design will abstract out a lot of cost and compute from the CPE so that you have a uniform experience irrespective of where you are.
Yeah, thank you for the plug, Sundeep. So yeah, I also believe the same thing, but definitely reliability is really the new speed, right? Speed is rarely the issue these days, especially when we're in a video conferencing call. But as Sundeep mentioned, the reliability factor can be, also broken down into the foundational KPIs and monitoring them real time or near real time, like latency, jitter, packet loss, and bitrate. So those KPIs can tell us what, or have a close estimation of the quality of experience that the end user is having. Now, quality of experience is a really complex thing to measure because anything starting from the weather to the time of day can affect the quality of experience because it's very subjective, right? So what we're trying to do is by monitoring these KPIs to provide a more just-in-time fix, right? So the user doesn't even realize that something has gone wrong or is about to go wrong, and just before it does, it just kicks in with it QoS mechanisms to improve that user experience.
No, it's great that you bring that up, Shafi, because it leads kind of in the next piece of around QBD is that there's different types of applications. As you said, the applications are evolving and they're going to continue to evolve with the introduction of AI. And so talk about like how do you create these network profiles and what does that mean? And give kind of an example of something we've all experienced, which is Wi-Fi congestion. It happens on a regular basis. Peak hours, everyone's home. Talk a little bit about putting these profiles together and what you can do in a scenario like that, just so people can better understand like how this works.
Yeah, so quality by design focuses on 4 primary categories. So we have video conferencing, video streaming, online gaming, and XR VR related applications. So for each category, we look at the metrics coming from a variety of applications, right? So we've been fortunate to work with Meta, Zoom, and Apple, which are really the most popular of the video conferencing or real-time video applications. And what we are looking at is by testing these applications in a lab scenario to mimic as real as possible, but to see how much congestion can we introduce to see the impacts on the actual call. So on a Zoom call, you may notice that when the kids are home or there are people starting to stream Netflix, that's when you start experiencing the audio video going out of sync, packets dropping or frames dropping, and those are the tests that we do in the lab, and we look at the different thresholds that we are categorizing as an optimal performance level, suboptimal, or unusable. So during a suboptimal case, you're not having a really service impacting issue, but it is still on its way to deteriorate the call if it really falls down on the unusable level. So we have different thresholds for each of these categories that we have collected data from lab tests, so that we can identify and custom tailor the solutions for all these different categories.
So you gave from the network operator perspective, what are great insights and how we can take action. From your perspective on the Meta side, on the application side, what are good insights for you that you can get from the network operators?
So if you look at any of the OTT apps that are being consumed by like billions of users throughout the day, all these apps, if you compare, like I'm a little bit old, so like if you look at the early version of the internet apps, pretty much everyone used to do the same thing. Like they had no understanding of what the network was able to deliver for them. Now, if you look at the modern apps that are there today, like they have a very good understanding of what the network is able to deliver and what something we call as all the apps that are OTT apps that are consumed by billions of users every day, they are becoming more like self-pacing. And what I mean by self-pacing is that they will try to understand what throughput is the network capable of delivering, what is the round trip time I'm getting, what is the jitter I'm getting. And based on that, they will adjust the application experience. But a lot of times when you do this work, you are doing it in isolation because the app has only a singular view of the world and it treats the whole networks as one big box. So working on initiatives like QBD and all, where you can get some amount of telemetry data even from the access side of the network, that helps a lot for any OTT provider to be able to provide any meaningful resolution or meaningful experience for the end customer. So in a way, at the end of the day, by working like these two pieces of disjoint information, I call it right now, because right now none of the CP or the operator data is ever shared with OTT provider, and the same is the case for OTT provider. Like even the non-PII data is never shared with the operator. So if there is some kind of balance where the two of these things can work together, you can dramatically improve the customer experience.
So we've talked a lot about what's going on currently, the work that's active. Let's look a little bit forward, a little further, right? Obviously, Meta is doing a lot with the immersive experience. The Ray-Bans, I see some Ray-Bans on in this audience now. Talk a little bit about what you think that's going to take to make more and more a reality, and what needs to happen with the network, not only with bandwidth capacity, but further out to the edge, right? What do we need to do as an industry to support these kinds of experiences as they become more and more prevalent?
So I think one of the initiative, again, it's part of QBD. Sorry, I'm acting like a marketing person for QBD. But one of the thing what QBD is doing is session insights, one of the pieces of work. And when you have like a huge number of applications that are consumed within a home, being able to understand, hey, this session or this device is either a, let's say, XR device, or these sessions are doing WhatsApp calling, or this session is in a game, and being able to enforce a policy that provides the best experience for that end application or end device is going to be very important in the future. But also the other important thing is going to be like the session insight should not like result in these CP devices going from, let's say, $100 to a few $1,000. So like it's going to be a fine balance between, hey, how do we provide very meaningful session insight so that you can essentially get the best experience within the home at the lowest price points. And that's what always will sell in like a consumer industry, because like no consumer is going to pay like few $1,000s for something to be adopted at scale.
Yeah, and the natural evolution to Session Insights API was to look at how these different applications perform in a household environment among other IoT devices, other application types, and especially with different scenarios that we experience with Wi-Fi especially. And we're really working on extending QBD into session automation that also uses agentic AI in the background to leverage a lot of the work that we've done on QBD to figure out where the customer events are occurring and how we can provide the root cause analysis just in time. But we're also looking at not just the in-home network tying into what's going on the HFC network. It could be an access network related issue. So we could also look at DOCSIS, PON, or any of the 3GPP technologies to really marry everything together and get a complete accurate picture of the virtual home here.
So you bring up the session automation, which is essentially having AI run inside the home. These agents act on your behalf. We talked about the immersive experience. And so when I talk about edge compute and getting resources further out to the edge, it's closer out to the home. And this obviously helps with latency and those sensitivities. But talk about the importance as we get to more and more personalized services about protecting that privacy when you're able to do that out further towards the home.
Yeah, and that's really how we're approaching session automation. as because the more we talk to our members, they're also very serious about protecting the customer data, right? So especially for our European members. So what we have figured out is, okay, without making it like $1,000 device, how can we move some of these quality by design related services closer to the router? And we have some proof of concepts that are looking very promising, where the quality by design services are essentially just running as close to the edge as possible without having any cloud interaction while we're doing the data collection. So a lot of these analyses are happening within the home network, and only when an anomaly is detected, if we need, we reach out back to the cloud.
And then your take on that as well, Sundeep.
Yeah, so I think AI agent, one of the good thing that we'll see in the near future is like they can act on behalf of a residential customer to provide a bridge between what can be shared with a network operator and what the AI agent can act on behalf of the residential customer without exposing like any PII data for the residential customer to bring meaningful intervention within the home. So that's one thing. Now, from a meta point of view, any work what we do right now, we do not look at per home data. We always look at the aggregate level data. So if we are working with the top operators in the US, we typically will look at the regional view of the thing, try to understand that, hey, we'll provide a heat map of what the QoE numbers look like in different part of the world, in different parts of the country. So we can do a breakdown, let's say in California, between Northern California and Southern California, what the QoE metrics are going to look like, and share that information back with network operator. So we right now look at it at a little bit higher level compared to being able to diagnose, where some of the very good work what QBD is doing is being able to influence within a home that, hey, if the Zoom call is going back, can I elevate the Wi-Fi QoS for this application so that they can get a better experience? Right now, we do not do that, but because we look at all the data from aggregate level point of view. So.
Perfect. So kind of last question here, as we're about to wrap up. We come back here in 3 years. How do we know that we got this right, that we've built these partnerships, that these ecosystems have grown, based on your personal opinions, right? We're not saying this is definitive, but want to get your insights of, did we get this right? Are we headed in the right direction? How would you measure that success if we come back here 3 years from now?
I have a great answer for that. For me,
Be the judge of that.
For me, it's when I'm on a call with my mom and there's an issue with the network, she's the one who's telling me what to do, and it's not the other way around.
I like that, Shafi. Oh, that's a pretty good answer. I'll give it to you. That's good. Yes, yeah, we got some mothers in the crowd. Good job. Earning brownie points.
So I think my point of view is like, if we take a audience poll in 3 years from now, and if we ask how many of you are having a bad Zoom experience, none of the hands should go up. If we are doing that, then I would feel that we spend very good, meaningful 30 minutes, the operators. I know in the US they're on a path of implementing Wi-Fi QoS and a bunch of other features that should improve in home experiences. But please work together so that we can improve the residential experiences.
Excellent. So, yeah, I want to thank everyone for their time. Hopefully this was insightful. It's certainly one thing you learned. Shafi loves his mother very much. That's a good thing. Attaboy, Shafi. And yeah, thank you for all your time today.